to Music City Online. I'm Nashville producer Gary Earl. Today we made a little trip up to NSAI here in downtown Nashville, and we are interviewing the man that is the engine of NSAI. He's the man that makes things run. He's the man that gets things done. Bart Herbison.
You need to be my agent, Gary. Thank you for the awesome introduction, man.
Yes. So, Bart, could you tell us in a few words what exactly does NSAI do for writers?
It really falls into two areas. We were founded in 1967 when there were only 80 songwriters in Nashville. It was the idea of Eddie Miller that thought songwriters needed an advocacy group. And he got 41 other of those 80 writers, Chris Christopherson, Mary John Wilk, and Danny Dild, to create this association. So we're advocates for the profession of songwriting. We are trying to change antiquated laws in the streaming era. We're constantly trying to look at ways to make songwriters be able to pay more fairly, more timely, in a transparent manner. The other thing we do, our mission also evolved into sort of an educational one. So any aspiring songwriter, whether it's a hobbyist or you want to be a professional, in any genre of music, we're proud of the Nashville in our name, but we have 140 chapters and a litany of programs and services here in person, at those chapter sites or online, to help you with both the craft, the business, and the important networking aspects of songwriting.
Excellent. I might add that, and my wife might make me edit this out, but when I arrived in Nashville, at that point, it seemed to me that the main reason for NSAI was that the pro writers could stop by the office and there was always a refrigerator full of beer.
You got a key to the refrigerator. You know what? Don't edit that out, because that was, it was cool. It was a cool hang, but it was sort of a moment, a marked moment in your career that you'd made it when you got a key to that refrigerator.
Well, that's true. You're right, actually. So you're right, and it was a communal place for songwriters, other than the beer joints. So, bottom line is, you have became a voice, or the masthead for the Voice going into Washington for songwriters, and this is it. I mean, you guys are the figurehead of that whole thing.
Well, I appreciate it. We worked hard at that. We filmed this in 2015. In the summer, we've already had 400 meetings with members of Congress. I go with songwriters. We've had a few thousand in my tenure. We've changed important tax laws. We've changed a number of things for songwriters, but we're still under archaic rules as of this taping that we got to change if this profession is going to survive. You can't make a living on 10,000ths of pennies for your songs.
I know that well. And even just other things like China often does not enforce copyright. So I will have a movie or a film or a TV show that I have music in. When it plays in China, I usually get 1 penny.
We look at piracy. We look at, respecting intellectual property worldwide. We look at everything from beginning your career here or somewhere else to the profession and how the rules structure the licensing and payment for your songs. Look, songs move us. They make us feel something. I've often said that there's a song played when you're born. There's a song played at your wedding. There'll be a song played at your funeral. There was probably a song involved in your conception. And but you know what, Gary?
No doubt.
That's important.
It is.
It's important, and it's worth something. Exactly.
At the Music Biz convention, Scott Borchetta showed up with a beautiful suit, and on the sleeve he had embroidered "Music has value."
Absolutely.
Loved it.
It should have monetary value, but it has cultural and emotional value in everybody's life.
So, Bart, what career path did you take to get here?
How long is this interview? I got my first radio show in second grade in Barstow, California from my school
Cool.
on the AM station Coyote, named after coyotes, K-Y-O-T, oh,
Seriously?
on Saturday mornings,
That's
and I
cool.
got the bug. So my family moved back to my hometown of Paris, Tennessee, and I got a full-time job at 16 years old, still in high school, and we had 3 formats, an AM and FM station. We
Right.
had top 40 music, country music, and on the weekends, acid rock and live gospel. So I was fortunate enough, I spent 14 years in commercial radio.
Really? Wow.
Toward the end of that, I became a news director. I was a director for a group of radio stations, was the West Tennessee correspondent for the then afternoon Nashville paper, the Nashville Banner, did some television stuff. That led to the governor of Tennessee in the late 80s hiring me in his press operation, Ned McWhorter. After a couple of years there, the U.S. congressman from Nashville, Bob Clement, hired me to initially do press, then I became his chief administrative officer and his campaign manager. I did that for 10 years. But this is cool, Gary, my second week in D.C., and by the way, I took a job in D.C. and have never been there.
Yeah, I've been doing the math, and I didn't think you were old enough to even get to this point where you are.
16 to 29 in radio, a couple of years for the governor, then 10 years in Congress.
Wow.
And I've been at NSAI 18 years as of this interview. But my second week in D.C., I told Congressman Clement when he hired me, I'll do the press operations.
Right.
I'll do the campaign stuff. But I'm going to do an issue area. And he goes, what? And I went, music and copyrights. Normally that's a legislative aid's job, but I carved that out because I love music. Gary, I'm a really bad trumpet player. But I was the guy that read the liner notes. I knew every studio person, and I knew who wrote the songs.
Wow.
That was always important to me. So my second week there, I have a meeting with NSAI. I thought it was the NSA, the security agency. So they come in, Peter McCann, a songwriter,
Right.
and Kevin Lamb, a publisher, come in with meet with me. I'm like, what is this? Tell me more about it.
Yeah.
What are your issues? Believe it or not, that day I said, that will be my next job
Wow.
at that organization. 10 years later, the executive director job came open. I applied, and
Wow. To me it's amazing because I've never known what your background was, and I have often wondered because you brought another whole dimension to this organization that did not exist. Not just the organization, literally, but to the writing community, period, whether you're New York, LA, or here, you know.
well, it has to start with, I love songwriters. I hope this doesn't come across as not humble. It takes songwriters. A songwriter can come to Nashville, and you may be creatively great, but it takes a while for the community here, I don't care where it was, Austin, Muscle Shoals, New York,
Right.
LA, to go, you're one of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they write something in my obituary, you're never going to hear a Bart Herbison song, but I hope they say, the songwriter said he was one of us. And that's where any success we've had under my tenure starts, because I love songwriters. I love their delicate psychology. I love how they're different. I love their creations, and I hope I'm one of you.
Oh, you are. Trust me, you are one of the most beloved people in Nashville, honestly, because, just the point of your passion, and your passion is obvious every time there's a #1 party, every time there's any sort of a meeting, and just the sheer bulk of work that you do for the songwriting community is amazing. What would you say would be your proudest honor?
So, my high school is Henry County High School in Paris, Tennessee. It was and is the #1 National Forensic League chapter in high schools in the United States. That's high school speech, debate, oratory. It all really started with a lady named Ruby Kreider, who became a college NFL person, wrote all the textbooks that they still use. And I participated in speech and debate. That produced some great public speakers, actors, actresses. I mean, Cherry Jones just won her second Tony for Best Actress from
Sweet.
that school. My sister Lori Herbison won nationals. And they did, a couple years ago, a wall of fame in my high school for people that came out of that speech and drama and debate department. And I was one of the original 7 inductees, and that was my proudest honor.
Wow, that's cool.
See my picture alongside Ronnie Payne and Cherry Jones and the rest of my colleagues from that program all the way back in the 70s.
That's cool. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions that I asked almost everyone
Sure.
that we interview. And one of those is, what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Governor McWhorter told me, plan your work and work your plan. What that meant is be prepared and choose your moments. And I will use that as sort of a personification for being around him. I've been fortunate. I've met every president in the modern era, a lot of famous, accomplished people, but that's the smartest man anybody that was ever around him was in the room with. And so watching him be prepared, choose his moments, and do things because they were the right things to do, that was the best advice. That and my dad told me. We grew up really, really poor. In a rural town of less than 200 people, didn't have running water, you know. We achieved through hard work, but my dad always said and still says, your word is your bond. And I've tried to carry through that. Sometimes it's hard because of the volume of things that I have to do and this organization has to do. That'll take you a long way through life if your word is your bond.
It's excellent. Good advice. Now, knowing how passionate you are about songs and songwriters, let's say you're having a dinner party or a house party. Name 3 songs that would be on your playlist.
I'll tell you my favorite 3 songs of all time, and that's easy for me.
Okay.
The first is The Rain Song. It's by Led Zeppelin. It's a song about the seasons of emotion. It's orchestral. It's just, you go through every emotion. It is the springtime of my love, and it is the summer of my smiles. I felt the coldness of my winter. So that by far and away is my favorite song.
Cool.
Number 2, Maggie May by Rod Stewart.
Oh, yeah.
Part of that's generational, but you think about it, find me 3 other songs that are a beautiful love ode to the girl that's not with him anymore.
Right.
He still loves her, and he sings about her as if they were together. He does say, Maggie, I wished I'd never seen your face, but that's bittersweet.
Exactly.
He means that because of the pain. And then I love the way Rod Stewart delivered that. Songs are supposed to make you feel something, and that one does.
After the show's over, I've got a Phil Ramone story for you about it.
Number 3, right up here on the wall, I don't know if you can see it, these are lyrics to famous songs.
Yeah.
I just got that when I finally got to meet one of my heroes. From the early 70s, it's the band Looking Glass.
Yeah.
And the lead singer and songwriter, Elliot Lurie, Brandy, you're a fine girl, and he wrote the lyrics for me right there.
Sure.
So those are my top 3 favorite songs.
Wow.
And then country comes in. I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry is number 4.
That's a big one. Yeah, that one's... I grew up in a town even smaller than you did. I grew up in a town of about 50 people, and that was counting the dogs. And we were 6 hours from the nearest airport, you know, out in the middle of the prairie in the high plains. And first time I heard that song, it immediately triggered the same feeling that I would get lying in bed at night hearing a train whistle way, way off in the distance. There's something sort of lonesome and...
It's just, you can't listen to that song and not feel, it's always going to take you to that emotional place.
Exactly, yeah, that melancholy. Yeah. Terrific. Anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
You said before this you were going to ask me that sometimes at a party, what one thing wouldn't you probably tell people?
Yeah, so if we met you at a party,
I'm the world's biggest Elvis Presley freak. Now, around Music Row, there's people that had Elvis cuts, and we get in a lot of arguments.
Right.
But always win. Ask me why.
Why?
What's Elvis's logo? It's TCB with a lightning bolt, which means taking care of business in a flash. That is tattooed down my left shoulder.
Seriously?
That's dedication. I win every argument when I show them the TCB tattoo. So.
One of my very best friends in the world is Rick Evans, who wrote In the Year 2525. And I met him in Reno. We were both in a commercial that was being filmed for a large casino. And I'm sure he was used to people grooming him. So the agent introduced us. And said, "This is Rick, he wrote In the Year." And my first words to Rick were, "I always hated that song." And we became good buddies. So over the years, for about 10 years, we had a running feud over the most important person in rock music. And of course, Rick was for Elvis and I was for the Beatles. Strictly because they wrote all their own songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little younger than him.
We can have that argument off the mic.
Well, Rick kept sending me Elvis things. He was to send me an entire wall, hanging rug of Elvis, painted in, on black velvet. He'd send me the Elvis for fun, that danced or and on and on and on it went, and it was hilarious. And until finally, it just got to a point where I said, "Rick, my attic's full. I got to throw this stuff away, so stop sending Elvis stuff." Oh well, terrific. That's great. This has been wonderful. Now, anyone who's interested in NSAI, if you're not already a member, check it out, NashvilleSongwriters.com.
That's right.
And do you have any other links that you want? We'll stick underneath the video or on the video.
There's one really cool thing I do. One of the favorite things, maybe the favorite thing I get to do in this job is the local paper here is a Gannett paper, the Tennessean.
Right.
And every Sunday I have a feature called The Story Behind the Song.
Oh,
There's a print article, but it's also a video. And I get to tell the stories. I interview the writers or the artists behind these favorite songs. You need to watch that. It's Tennessean.com.
Yeah,
go to music, go to Story Behind the Song.
Cool.
And I think that it'll reconnect you with the beautiful creative genius of the people that write these things that move you.
Amazing. Terrific. Well, thanks. This has been
Thank
really
you. I
excellent.
really enjoyed it. I appreciate it.
And if you're not a member, join. Seriously. This organization fights for the songwriters. NSAI, NashvilleSongwriters.com. Terrific.